talk about the last races that we watched this weekend.
That we fully watched this
Fully
weekend.
watched.
Yes.
This weekend is F1 Academy. They were also racing in Jeddah. This season, this episode, this weekend. And so going into race 1 on Saturday, we of course have still the reverse grid situation going on. So that means the first 8 positions are inverted.
Yes.
So Chloe Chambers qualified in P1, so that means she started in P8.
Yes.
We had Dorian, who qualified in P2, so she started in 7th. Then I think we had Maya. We had Palmowski, Alicia, and
Alba Larsen, the 16-year-old.
who has actually been really, really strong. Yeah. Then we had Tina Hausman and
Ella Lloyd, and Emma Felbermeyer.
So with
Emma Felbermeyer. Sorry,
Emma Felbermeyer. I'm actually a big fan of hers because I think you can definitely tell that she has a lot of experience in karting, because I know that karting is usually you go from karting to like formula. It's a very common way of the racers to grow their career. And you can definitely, I think, tell, especially in her qualifying, because she's qualifying quite far up front.
Yeah, I mean, both of the rounds so far, she qualified within the top 10.
Yes.
Which had offered her a great experience with the new reverse grids, that she had opportunities to fight in the front as well as fight in like the midfield.
Yeah, she even said like she doesn't even know about starts so much. She still doesn't feel as confident. I hope that she gets as much training and practice in as the team can get her, and also that she can get more, because I do think, especially if she would be able to come back next year, I think there's a huge potential for increase in skill with her. I think it will just take some time for her to lock it in.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of returning racers this year that we have on the grid who last year were okay. And this year, I think especially Chloe Chambers has been very, very strong.
Yes. I mean, I feel like she had an excellent trajectory for, like, she got successively better last season as well, but she's definitely one of my top contenders for this season, and also going into this weekend, this being round 2. We talked about it earlier in the season. For F1 Academy, there is a potential for a lot of safety cars, which I was expecting for this round, just because I think last year they had a bunch of safety cars here because it was such an early race. I think it was the first round last year.
I think, it was the first round. It was so many safety cars. I think the first race was like 3 of them.
Yeah.
I know that they progressively get better. I did say for race 1, I was like, I'll give you guys 1 safety car because that's what I gave the F1 guys. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We got 1 safety car, which it happened also pretty early on. So that wasn't too difficult. I'm trying to remember what happened.
Was that the collision with Chloe Chong?
Yes, Chloe Chong was taken out by Crow. Is that right?
Oh, Crone, Australian
which
driver,
almost seemed like not karma, but it was like kind of it came back around for her, because last round she was such a Rambo.
Yes.
Not maliciously. I think it's probably nerves, and who knows? I don't know if she's had any experience in open seat racing.
Yeah, because she has come back for her second season.
Oh, that's true.
But she took a season off.
Yes.
So I'm not sure how much riding or driving, she did in the meantime. But she had definitely was a little bit on offense for the first round,
absolutely.
and then this time, maybe it's karma, call it whatever, unlucky. She got taken out. I do want to give a shout out to Ella Lloyd.
Yeah, absolutely.
She ended up winning race 1, which was excellent. She ended up leading pretty early on. She got the pass on Emma Felbermeyer, I think.
I think she did it right off the get-go, didn't she?
I don't remember if it was right off the get-go, but it was pretty early on, and she ended up leading the race. She did have to do this restart with the safety car, which she did a good job. She ended up keeping her lead right there, and then it ended up being second. Maya Berg came in second, and then in third place we had Alicia Palmowski, who came in first last weekend.
I think Alicia is also someone definitely to keep an eye out for her. I think especially I think I'm going to say this. I know we still have a bunch of rounds to go. I think we have 4 rounds left. So that's 8 races to go. I think this will be a showdown between Dorian, Maya, and probably Chloe Chambers.
Yes.
However, I think Alicia has been very strong already so far. And if she's not going to throw a wrench in it this year, she's definitely going to, I think, if they're going to, which they should, bring her back next year. I think she's going to be a strong contender. And I know it's absurd that we're already talking about next season.
Yeah.
But there's also, I think, the sense of urgency and like really like hunger for these drivers, because they only get 2 seasons, right?
Yes.
So for Dorian, Maya, and Chloe Chambers, as well as Chloe Chong technically, it is the last chance for them to become F1 Academy champion, right? I mean, Martha Garcia, she got 1 and she did it.
Yeah.
Abby did it in her 2nd.
Yes.
But now for them, this is their last chance.
Yeah.
And I could imagine Dorian getting it, but on the other hand, Maya has been incredibly strong.
That's what I'm thinking. I think Maya right now, I mean, it's still early, but I think right now Maya has just this tiny bit of a leg up, I think. Also in terms of points, she's ahead of
she just overtook Dorian.
But I think it's going to be close. It's going to be really, really interesting.
Yes.
Going into race 2.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to round out that I do believe that I think also a force to be reckoned with is 16-year-old Alba Larsen. She is so strong. She is so young. She finished 5th in race 1. And she's soaking up all this valuable skill and like experience that even, let's say she would come back next year and maybe she's not going to be outright dominant, but you're 17 and you have like 2 years of F1 Academy underneath your...
We were talking about that earlier. At 16... neither of us had a license.
Correct. I mean, she might not have a license either, but I literally had 0 driving experience in a car.
I was getting into that now. I had not driven a car by then. I've been in cars many a times. But
besides GTA, nothing for me.
No,
There's some need for speed with the controller, but you know.
Exactly. That's different. But yeah, so that's very impressive. But then race 2 was also a lot of fun.
Race 2 was a very good watch, and I would highly recommend going, if you haven't seen it, going back. I thought both are definitely worth watching, but especially second one, because we had so much battle for positions, especially across like the top 4.
I would say yes.
We had essentially Chloe Chambers trying to defend her pole position. Maya Wig and Dorian immediately lost her position going into T1 and gave it up for Maya Wig. And then Palmowski, Alicia, she was also in there constantly battling. Yeah. Which, of course, you always have to be careful if you're going to get caught up in a fight. Yeah. That also means that you're wasting valuable time, because they do only race 13 laps.
Yes, exactly. So there's not a lot of time. And then also, because of the battle between Chloe Chambers and Maya Wig, there was an interaction where Maya was essentially forced off the track. Correct. And then Chloe Chambers didn't give back the position. So
again, she's in a Red Bull technically.
Yeah. And then because Red Bull Ford, but then she ended up getting a 5-second penalty. But because of her excellent pace,
she was insane.
She crossed the line first. Of course, she had to concede first place to Maya Wig. She was quite close. But because in the last 2 laps, she was able to drive out the last lap was so interesting. It was going from 4.8, 4.7 between her and Dorian, and going into the 5.1 exactly. And then Chloe was able to her pace was so strong that she ended up taking second place, pushing Dorian to third, although Chloe had the 5-second penalty, which I thought was really, really impressive. And also keep in mind, guys, they're all driving the same car. It's just different setups by driver and per team, of course, whatever their preferences are. But it's like, it's essentially the the vehicle that they're in is very, very similar. And there's no DRS. They just have the slipstream that they can utilize.
And then just for a reference, how fast Chloe Chambers was. Chloe Chambers' fastest time was a 2:04.9. So, and then we had Maya Wirk with a 2:05.0. So she's a 10th faster. And then she was, and then Dorian was never able to get it underneath a 2:05.3.
Yeah.
So that was actually, Alicia was faster than Dorian in her fastest lap.
That's true. That's true.
Actually, Larson as well. Larson was even faster than Alicia Palmowski. That is amazing. Larson is really, really strong. I'm definitely someone who I want to keep my eye out on, regardless of where she's going in the future, because I think there's a lot of potential. But the race overall was so competitive.
Yes.
But I think this is really, I know we talk about this all the time, but in those junior racing leagues, you do get that a lot. Any Formula 4 race that I have watched was so highly competitive, so many overtakes, so much fighting for positions, and you see the same thing here in F1 Academy. And really, to emphasize what you said again, like the times that Chloe put in at the very end, it was mind-boggling, especially because I would have not... Dorian's defense, Chloe was racing in clean air, right? But like, I didn't think she would have so much pace over Dorian. Dorian really struggled, I think, with her pace this weekend.
Dorian had like a 2-second difference, I think, between her and Maya. So you could argue that Dorian was also in clean air.
Yeah,
you know?
As I said, we talked about this earlier, that we don't know exactly how big the gap has to be for you to feel the dirty air.
Especially also F1 Academies, probably the gap is different than an F1 car. But yes, so there's that argument, of course. But then, like you said, Maya is currently now leading the overall F1 Academy championship with 59 points. Dorian is second with 52 points, so just 7 points between the two of them. And then Chloe Chambers is in third with 47 points. So just 5 points between her and Dorian. So there's still, of course, a lot to play, which is really nice. Next up, they're coming to Miami with the F1 guys. So just the next race, everybody will be racing in
2 weeks,
which will be very, very fun. And then last year's Miami race had a lot of safety cars.
Yeah,
that
it's
one
also
was
a street track.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that they will be on their best behavior again. I think this on Jeddah they did really well.
Yes.
Especially if we do remember it correctly compared to last year. I also have quite a lot of empathy for them, because unlike the F1 guys, they are racing when the sun is still out.
Yes, especially in Jeddah, they were driving in the middle of the day.
It's super hot.
Oof, yeah, I don't envy them. Granted, it's only 13 laps, but it's still very hot. I also, quickly, I just wanted to say, because we were able to watch the F1 Academy with a friend today. I mean, we kind of forced it on her.
I was like, listen, you're here, we're going to watch it.
But I think it's great for especially people who are new to F1 Academy that everybody's car looks different.
Yes.
So it's so much easier, because also there's less rounds, there's less chances to see them race. So it's easier to differentiate between, I have no clue, I have to be honest, who is on which team, because there's different constructors. There's Campos, there's MP, there's Prema, and I'm like, I have no clue. And also, sorry guys, but I'm not interested who's on which team right now, because I'm going more for the individual drivers.
Well, or I go based off the livery,
but that's what I'm saying. So it's nice that they all have different liveries, so it's easier to differentiate, because we don't spend as time with the women, so it's easy to see, like, oh, there's Alba because she's in the Tommy Hilfiger car, Dorian clearly in the Mercedes, and there's just one of them, so it's easy to spot. Besides the Red Bull, it's just like you have to figure out which blue it is. Exactly, but there's 2 different blues, so it does kind of work out. But I think it's a really clever thing. Yes, absolutely. So I think that would wrap up everything that we also wanted to talk about F1 Academy. So you said you had one more thing you wanted to talk about. Yes. So I don't know if you saw, but four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel.
Yes, I did see that.
Was at Jeddah this weekend again, and he was there for Race4Women.
His organization.
Yes, exactly. So I didn't know if you knew exactly what it was about or if you had some information on it, so I did some research on it because I think it's a great cause, and if you guys don't know about it, at least you have some information about it, and instead of us making a full video about it, there's a little bit of information here and we can chat about it because I think it's a great cause. This was the second time they've had an event, so it's only it's an organization that he, I guess, created under his name, but this is the second event that they've had. They've had a similar event in Jeddah in 2021, and then now they're back in 2025.
Awesome.
So in 2021, the initial event was in a way to celebrate that women are allowed to drive. So in 2018 in Saudi Arabia, that changed legislation so that women were allowed to drive. And then so in 2021, they had the event. It was a little bit smaller then, but basically it was kind of to give women the support or the opportunity to do karting on the track. So they got to, and that's what they did this time as well. They were able to do some karting. On the track, they were able to speak to Sebastian Vettel, who was there. He was able to...
Sorry, I'm only laughing because there's so much random background noise that just started. Yeah. I'm not laughing at what you're saying, but the viewers might not see that.
Yes, or hear what's happening.
Yeah, hopefully they don't
there's
hear.
like a lawnmower all of a sudden
outside. It's like...
or whatever it is.
It's like, what the hell is going on? Sorry, it just made me laugh because you're just like so unfazed, and I'm like...
Yeah, I was trying to ignore it.
Sorry, go ahead.
But anyway, so he, of course, was karting with them. Anyways, somebody's going crazy outside. Oh, okay. I hope that helps. Okay. So he essentially he met up with those women. This time it was 20 women and girls. They had the opportunity to do like some karting. They did a little tournament amongst each other, and it was him. He was there to answer questions and to talk to these women. And there was also I don't know if you remember her. Where's my here? Dania Akil. We were introduced to her early last year during Dakar. She was one of the women who competed in Dakar. No, she's I think she is from Saudi Arabia. Of course. Yes, I remember. She won one of the stages. She has gorgeous eyes.
Yes.
It's true. But she was there as well to talk to the women because she's a professional race car driver. Now she does mostly rally or cross country kind of things. But so basically the two of them were there. They were talking to these women, basically encouraging them or showing women that there's opportunities for them in motorsport on the track as well as off the track. Yeah. So in the pit wall, engineering, yada, yada, yada. So I think that was such a great opportunity for them. And there was also this woman who ended up winning the competition for Race4Women there. So they've had heats and then they had a race. And she was so proud because also her dad was there because there was like family and friends were there. And her dad is also a race car driver.
Oh, that's awesome.
So for her to win and her dad to see it is, of course...
Yeah, of course. That's awesome.
Beautiful. But this is, of course, just one of Vettel's like... organizations.
I know he does the bees.
Yeah, he has a lot of great causes that he supports. And then there's, I just lost it. I had a page open here where he has this saying where there's always another race, essentially. So there's always another thing to fight for.
Oh, okay,
another
that's
thing
awesome.
to work for. And then so this is one of the causes that he works for. And then apparently the Race4Women is also associated to the Malala Fund in a way.
Oh, lit.
Because on his website, it links to the Malala Fund.
Okay, so maybe there's like a connection.
Some kind of connection, but he's just to support women, to support the next generation. And also just because he believes that, which I 100% agree, and I'm sure you do too, that for people in racing, it starts early. You have to have the support early on. You have the access early on. You have to start karting early on or have access to it, and also not find an in, but also be exposed to it and see that there's opportunities there for you to be able to follow into those footsteps.
I think especially if the goal is F1, like the earlier the better.
Yes.
I think F1 is like a thing where like if you start racing at 18, you're not going to make it to F1, you know?
But exactly.
You might be able to race something else, right? And I think you can actually start very late in life.
Yeah.
But it is very much like get them in there early, get the excitement early. And especially, of course, if you come from a family that's affluent enough for you to afford a hobby like karting, like, hey, let's go out and support it. Yeah. That's awesome.
But then there's also, of course, like you said, like racing is a very expensive sport and not everybody can afford to do that. But it's also about, not just for racing, but I was also thinking for so many other things, you need to have the exposure to it. But so you know that you have an interest in it, you know, because a lot of times you don't find out what motorsport is or what different things are, and then you don't have the exposure to it. So there's never a thought that, oh, that's
I
something.
Could be doing it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I think it's also like we'll probably have a lot of women coming up like in the next like 5 to 10 years that probably had maybe the Iron Dames as their inspiration, right? Whereas on rally, I think maybe a lot of people would be talking about Michelle Mouton, right? And Patricia, but it is like having like seeing them out there, and then also in a few years probably being like, hey, I saw F1 Academy, you know, I saw them racing, and especially it's also great for the exposure that you can watch it for free, you know, it's available. You don't need an F1 subscription, right? You can watch it on YouTube, and making it available and easily for people to watch, you know, is I think how you're going to get investment in that, you know.
But I also just think like what I loved about also Sebastian is that he speaks open about his causes and what he supports. I mean, he's always been very vocal throughout his career as well. And then he said that he believes there will be a woman in F1.
I mean, it's like DC said, like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, and that's why I think his event is so important also is for women to see that there's a possibility, and especially also have exposure so early, because you need to start training early on. And I think that's where maybe the disadvantage is for a lot of the women, is because they are not exposed to it. They don't know that there's the opportunity, and then also to have the support early on. Because yes, of course, you have to be physically ready, you have to be mentally ready, but I don't think either of those things are not possible for women. Well, it's just a matter of training,
physical or anything like that. I do think maybe a lot of women currently are funneled, quote unquote funneled, or they may more go the way of GT racing just because it's maybe easier, quote unquote. It is probably much easier, not that it's easy, but easier than of course getting into
accessible.
F1, F2 or F3, because that's such a straight and narrow thing, right? Like I don't know if there's anyone I would say all the like everything from like I think Max's generation, like they all went through F3, F2, F1, and like Lewis, he didn't do F3 and F2 because that wasn't a thing. He did like GBR or the Renault, or so, but it was still like it went through that process, right? And I think there is talks about this young girl that is like really dominating in karting. I think there's definitely an eye to be had on her because she is in that age range where it's like, okay, if she has maybe the proper trainers and the proper, sponsorship, that she might be able to make it to, I'm not saying to F1, but maybe to, because we don't even have a woman in F2 or in F3, right? There is in GB3 now, which is similar to Formula 3. I think it's this. It's not the same, but I think it's the same cars.
I think it is, yeah. Or I think it's the same chassis or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
So it's already going in that direction, but like the next step, of course, would be first getting someone into Formula 2 and also making sure that obviously she's competitive, because whoever it is will have to have a thick skin, because goddamn, you're going to hear it from all sides.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But then it's also like there might have been women that were good enough in karting, but then they weren't given the opportunity to have a seat.
100%.
I mean, there's also lots of guys who are probably really, really good.
I mean, and then someone like Stroll is taking up a seat.
Yeah, exactly. People who can buy their way through it. And I think also probably one of the next women will have to come from money.
Or will have to come with a huge sponsorship.
Exactly.
Kind of like how Mick had one-on-one, right? Eins on eins.
Yeah, or Checo has incredible sponsors.
They need to come probably with some purchasing power just to like be like, okay, guaranteed at least for this year or for next year. So, and like, what is it they say? I don't know if this number is true, but from the beginning of your karting career to F1, I think you have to have like about 10 million in sponsorships, just because it's so expensive to race, and you're racing all over the world. You have to pay for your trainer and yada, yada, yada. But it is very exciting. I think will be very interesting to see what the future has in store for that.
So I think it was really great that Sebastian had that event there.
Absolutely.
That he was hosting the event. He was there in person. He was talking to those women, answering questions, sharing his experience, and just being there to support them. It was also funny. I didn't see the clip, but apparently Laura Winter also got in a cart and was on the track with him. So he was, I guess, ahead at first, and she was behind, following his line, and then eventually they switched. She got a little nervous, spun out, or they also collided a little bit. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're having a good time.
But imagine you get to be on a racetrack
with Sebastian Vettel.
Bro, and especially also, I love the idea of being able to drive behind him, seeing at the line, seeing, of course, you can see when he brakes. So you copy essentially everything, or you try to mimic it as good as possible. And like the karts are fast. Like don't underestimate.
I mean, they have to be fast because also the track is so long. Like otherwise you'll be taking 8 minutes to get around.
Now I'm not 100% sure if they were on the full track or if they were just on a part of the track or something.
I don't know how that works with a part of the track, just because it's a street track. That's the only reason I brought this up.
Yes. But I thought that was really, really cool. So that's why I wanted to give that a moment. And I also just wanted to touch on, which kind of works in with what we've been talking about Lando as well, that Sebastian Vettel was talking really highly about that the drivers nowadays are talking more about how they're feeling.
Okay.
You know, how things are affecting them, that they're not pretending everything is cool, or that they're so stone cold. I mean, speaking of Piastri, he is pretty calm, but he does express when things are not going so well and things like that. But then it's just, that's why I said that it was kind of nice to hear Lando talk about like that he's frustrated with how things are going, yada, yada. I think it's nice, especially for the younger people, to see that these athletes are not always doing well.
They're not machines.
They're and then also, who was it? Oh, Jorge Martin last season, which I loved so much. That's MotoGP now. But he was very expressive about how his emotions and how he's feeling and his mental health, and that he was with a therapist all season long, and that person helped him with the mindset and
he won.
I mean, he ended up winning, exactly. So I think that was really a nice moment for Vettel to say those things. Yeah. Just because I know we've been hard on Lando, or talking about how he talks about himself and things like that. But I think it's good that he expresses it. Also that he doesn't maybe, I mean, there's probably much more going on behind the scenes and things, but it's nice to have them be so open about it. It's not just him. Also, Lewis had talked about his mental health at times and things like that. And I think it's just very important.
It is. I agree. So I think this will also wrap up with everything that you have to share with us. A little sneak peek for next week's episode. We did start the 6-hour race of Imola. We watched the qualifying, and we watched the first 3 hours.
Yes.
We're going to finish it by next week. So that's when we're going to talk about it. So essentially, you guys all have been put on notice. You have a week to watch it. If you're in the US, you can watch the full replay actually on HBO Max.
Yes, correct.
Or I think you can pay $7.99 on the FIA WEC TV app to watch the race. I will say, however, for whatever reason, we couldn't find an app for it on our smart TV.
Yeah.
Nor could we find an app for it on the Amazon stick. I was able to find the Android app for my phone. However, it has a project button, but I wasn't able to project onto the TV. Fair. I don't know if because we don't have the app for it. So I ended up just screen sharing it, at least a qualifying, because that we didn't check on Max at the time for that. But if you're in the US, that's how you can watch it. I think most other people can just watch it through the FIWEC TV app, which is garbage. I hate it.
But so far, the without getting into details, from what we've seen so far, it's been a really interesting race.
And also well behaved.
Yes, but there's still a lot that's been going on.
We still have half to go.
Yeah, I mean, we still have half to go. Very
literally.
True. So we'll talk about that next weekend, because next weekend I think it's going to be a little bit of a slower weekend. We don't have F1 next weekend.
And no MotoGP.
There's still no MotoGP next weekend?
I don't think MotoGP is back for
guys, what are they doing? They need to stop taking breaks.
I mean, talking about MotoGP, I don't know if you saw this, but no, they are going to be next week in Spain. I lied. It's going to be a home race for Marquis.
Yes.
And for not for Jorge, because he's not going to be on the bike. He actually, they just released him in the hospital in Qatar, and I think he was able to be transferred to a hospital in Europe. Because remember, guys, he had a collapsed lung, 5 broken ribs. Yes, that's terrible.
Yes. Oh, and then just very last thing, speaking of Imola, we also had plenty of MotoGP riders there to support Valentino Rossi.
Yes.
Which was nice. We had seen Pecco Bagnaia, we saw Franco Morbidelli, we saw Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi. I say Bezzecchi.
Yeah.
But the three of them, which makes sense, they're the Italian team. They're coming.
And they're also home.
Well, yeah, they're home, and then they're also coming from, I think, the Valentino Rossi school, you know? So that's why they have a connection there to support. And one of the interviewers had asked Pecco if he has interest in eventually going into the cars. He was like, maybe one day, but he wants to finish his 2-wheel career first, which Valentino did as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him.
Yeah, so they're going to be racing next weekend in Spain, and then on Mother's Day, American Mother's Day, they will be in France.
Okay, nice. I'm excited. So we have another good week of racing ahead of us. On Thursdays, as per usual, on YouTube, we'll bring out our What to Watch, so you know exactly what's happening next weekend. And then on Spotify, we'll be back on Monday as per usual with our recaps and anything else we want to chat about over the weekend. I hope you did have an opportunity to check out our episode about the Long Beach Grand Prix. We broke down also costs and everything, our experience overall. Also share your experience if you've ever been. If you have any tips which next race we should go to here in the US, let us know, because we would gladly add it to the list. Although I would love to go to another Supercross.
Yes, but they're not coming back to our side, right?
No, they'll be in Vegas for one of the big finales. Oh, somebody sounds like they broke the laptop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, careful there. Or they'll be coming back from motocross, but they will be still a couple hours away from us. So we'll see.
Yes.
Just leave it.
Okay, sorry guys. Before I break anything else, let's say goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching. If you're on Spotify, hit that follow, give us 5 stars, por favor.
Thank you.
And then if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Mucho kiss. Bye bye.